So here's an interesting thing. Never come across one of these gas meters before where you just got the one, well, inlet and outlet. Normally I'm used to seeing an inlet then an outlet. Hello and welcome to today's video. Another day in the life of a gas engineer. No installs on this one, which I'm sure you guys will be relieved with, but we've got a couple of services and a wiring video. So the last video, I'm taking out the Vaillant, I think it's the predecessor to the VR71. I can't remember which wiring center it was. It was tucked away in a corner. I couldn't really get to it, but there were customers having problems with it. They didn't want to put a new Vaillant wiring control system in. They wanted to put in a Hive twin channel, so ripped it all out, put in a Hive, put in a brand new wiring center, Hive twin channel programmer, and rewired it all to a traditional S plan. So I hope that video is more interesting than the first two because the first two are services, but they're full services. And if you hear the baby crying, it's just because Nikki's changing a nappy at the moment, and then I'm going to go and give her a feed in a minute. Yeah, enjoyed the video. Don't forget to hit the subscribe and like button. I'm getting closer to the 8K by the end of the year. So don't forget, do it now before you forget, and then we'll crack on with the video. Enjoy. Okay, we're live. We are at a, we're Potterton Gold 24HE. So this is, how old is this? Is 2000 and, oh wait, it says on the serial number usually. This, about 15 years old, yeah. So we've got the stainless steel gin only heat exchanger in this one, so you'll see that when I take this cover off. And this doesn't have the big brass diverter valve, which I changed in one of the other videos. This has got the cartridge style diverter valve. However, because it's a pre-2008 boiler, it's got a bypass valve. So if you ever have to change the diverter cartridge on this, it's not as straightforward as just swapping the cartridge out. You can get a cartridge repair kit, which I keep one in the van because it makes it easier. But if you've got the long style cartridges, they won't fit in this block because you've got a bypass that goes around the back. So you have to, if you either get the cartridge repair kit, which I recommend because it's cheaper, it's quicker, it's easier for both you and the customer. Or if you can't get that, then you've got to change the whole left-hand block, which makes it more expensive for the customer. It makes it more time consuming for you. And overall, it's not a very pleasant job to do because the more connections you disturb on a boiler as old as this, you're going to likely run into more problems. So do yourself a favor, get yourself a cartridge repair kit, keep it in the van, because that will then allow you to literally just change the top bit where the actuator comes off. I've done it in one of my other videos, so if I can't remember which one it is, I'll try and put the link in the description and that will direct you to it. But what I'm here to do today is a full service on this. So taking the case off, visual inspection, going to take the combustion case off, get the burner out, have a look at the main heat exchanger, give it a nice proper clean inside, and then obviously do the standard 26.9 checks and then go from there. So here's an interesting thing. Never come across one of these gas meters before where you just got the one, well, inlet and outlet. Normally I'm used to seeing an inlet then an outlet. I am in a quite a large block of flats, so don't know if this is a special type of meter that you have in flats where you've obviously got large pipe sized runs. That's what, 35 mil it looks like. So I know there's not going to be any problem with the working pressure because the boiler is literally just there. So yeah, interesting. Never seen one of these before. So if anyone can shed some light on this type of gas meter, drop a comment below. Right, boiler is drained out, so we're at 0 bar pressure. Taking the fuse out of there, and surprise, surprise, it's a 13 amp fuse. So we'll be changing that to a 3 amp. Got my gauge on for recharging the expansion vessel. It's at 0.35 bar, so let's top that up to bar. Yep. Okay, so I'll leave that on there to make sure that it holds its charge. So it always comes down, I always charge it to 1.1, comes down a little bit. Not much more water's come out of there, so I think that expansion vessel was pretty well charged as it was. Now I'm just gonna get the burner out, have a look inside here, give this a clean, and then see what we're up against. Okay, so I've got the burner out. Electrodes and the rectification don't look in too bad nick. The burner itself as well, fairly clean. Heat exchanger, that has never been opened up, but for a boiler which is about 15 years old, that's actually not so bad. You've got a little bit of dusting on there, so I'm going to get the brush, give that a clean, and then make this all nice and shiny as much as we can do without obviously disturbing the actual heat exchanger. So we'll give this a clean, put it all back together. Very similar to a Vaillant boiler in terms of the heat exchanger. I'll probably take the back insulation panel out as well so that I can give it a full clean inside, flush everything through the condense, give the condense stripe a clean as well, and then I can start doing my 26.9 check. So let's get that cleaned up. So there we go, that is a lot better than what it was before. Obviously 15 years worth of crud, not going to get rid of all of it, but that is a hell of a lot better than what it was. So I'm going to rebuild it all, put the insulation pad back in there, put the burner back on, main heat exchanger, seals and everything are fine on there, so get that all back in there, and then we can start doing our 26.9 checks. Right, burner and everything is all back together. One thing I will point out is whenever you undo this nut here, there's a little injector inside. It's called, I think, top hat because it looks like a top hat. That can drop out when you take the burner out. So when you pull it out on this time, it didn't drop out, but sometimes it's a bit loose and it will drop out. Remember to put that back into the burner side, because if you don't, trust me, when the boiler fires up, you'll know. You've forgotten something and it will make you jump. Boom, literally, because that's what restricts the amount of gas going into the burner. If you don't put that in, you're going to be jumping. So don't forget that. Other than that, now I've got to remember to put this little tube back on, so that there's a little nipple at the back here, which that needs to go onto. So always remember to put that back on, otherwise you will be coming back and make sure that the line doesn't get kinked as well. So pull that down like that. That's in at the back. I think I remember, yeah, there's 2 points. So there's a nipple on there, which you don't want to put it on. It's got to go at that back nipple. Now that's back on, put the combustion case back on, and I can start doing my 26.9 checks. A little tip for when putting these in service mode, and if you've got a small circuit like over here, it's all underfloor heating, so it's getting up to temperature too quickly. What I tend to do is, you've got the, it's a bit difficult to see because it's dark, but you've got the Hall effect sensor which sits on the flow turbine at the back there. Pop that off. That sensor is, where is it? There it is. So pop that sensor off, and also take off the diverter actuator. That puts the diverter mode, the diverter valve, into hot water position. Then open up a hot tap, put it into service mode, and it will divert all of the heat through the plate and then out to the hot tap. So it just makes it a little bit more easier for when you're doing your gas rating, your flue gas analyzer checks, to make sure that the boiler does stay at, well, within its temperature limits and doesn't get too hot too quickly. So I've done my maximum, just doing my minimum now, just writing it on the panel here because the boiler's quite old, so it's just easier to just keep a record of the service that I'm going to be doing from here on, just on the boiler panel. Minimum is looking good. So I'm going to wind this down and then we're going to be out of here and on to the next one. All right, here we go. Next boiler service is a Wiesmann 100W system boiler. So got loads of space in this cupboard under the stairs to work with. It's fantastic. I can see it's already been set up on weather comp as well. That was done by someone else on, well, back in 2018. So that's all good. I'm going to be giving this a full service, so taking out the burner, cleaning the main heat exchanger, obviously draining it out, doing the expansion vessel checks and everything. But yeah, it's a really nice location here to work on. So yeah, I'm going to crack on with that. I was here, I think a year ago or so, to replace the wireless cylinder stat. So upstairs, they've got, obviously it's a system boiler, so they've got a hot water cylinder and then a wireless cylinder stat, which just stopped working. So I got myself an EPH one and fitted that in for them last year. So they had the hot water up and running again. and then coming back this year to get this boiler all fully serviced. So boiler's been switched off. I'm going to go outside, go and do a tightness test, and then we'll crack on with this. I'll tell you what, this boiler, other than obviously a little bit of residue on the bottom, heat exchanger is very clean. I'm not sure how old it is. It's not the youngest boiler, it's not the oldest boiler, but I think this is what you get when it's running on weather comp. It allows the heat exchanger to remain nice and clean. So I'm going to vac that up, and then I'm not going to use the drill brush attachment on this. I'm just going to use the Karcher to wash it out, and then yeah, pop it back together. I thought it was a system boiler, but it's not. It's a heat only boiler, so there's no expansion vessel to recharge. The whole system is still maintained as an open vent system. It's going to be pretty straightforward service in that respect. So let's get this cleaned out and then pop it back together. So there you go. So that's all been vacked out so far, and it's all, I don't know if you can see, sitting in the bottom there. So I'll have to clean that out in a bit as well. So now I'm probably gonna, I reckon, pop the condense hose off the bottom, put a little plumb tub there, and then as I wash it through, it shouldn't block up the condense trap. I should just be able to catch it all in the plumb tub underneath the boiler, or the main heat exchanger. So that's all been flushed out. So just, like I said, I just gave it a little blast with the Karcher, so it has cleaned up a bit. And you can see all of the crud that's got caught in the folding bucket. I'll leave that there for a minute or so, just let the last few remnants drip out. But yeah, I'll give this bucket a little clean out the condense trap, pop it all back together. Okay, burn and everything is all back together. Now I'm going to clean out the filter. So I've taken off the magnet which holds all the dirt in there. Now this is an open vented system, so I expect there to be a fair bit of dirt. Let's see. Get this open. It's not actually that bad. Let me flash through for a little bit. Yeah, no, that's pretty clean. Because it's open vented, I don't have to top up any pressure, literally we'll just refill from the F&E tank. But yeah, that is a very clean system considering it's open vented. So now that that's all done, let's shut that, don't want to blind you guys. And now I can start doing my 26.9 checks on this. Okay, so just finishing off with the flue gas analysis. Gas rate was spot on. It's 35 kilowatt open vent boiler, and it's coming in just under 35 kilowatts, so that's perfect. Maximum rate is only going up to about 70 ppm as well, so I'm happy with that. This one's done, on to the next one. Right, so this next job I've got here is a Vaillant 637. So previously it was on the Vaillant, I think the old style sensor comfort system or whatever it used to be called before. That stopped working, so I had a call from them saying that there was no hot water last week. Originally I thought it might be a zone valve issue. When I came here, it's just not working properly. The PCB on here also needs changing as well because the temperature numbers just keep jumping about all over the place. So I'm going to be replacing that, and I'm going to be taking that out and rewiring this to a traditional S-plan system with a Hive twin channel heating hot water system. So what I did last week, the immersion wasn't even wired in, so I put the immersion on a bit of 2.5 heat resistant flex. So that's plugged in at the moment. So let's take that out for now. I need to pull out this dryer. Is it a dryer or washing machine? Whatever it is. pull it, yeah, so dry, pull that out so I can take all that out, get the wiring out from there, the power. Probably going to put the new wiring center maybe there where it's a little bit more accessible. Just got to check that. Hopefully those wires behind there are coming up from the bottom and not down from the top, so when I drill into there I won't hit nothing. So got myself a Wago wiring center, get that on the wall first, then I can plan exactly how I'm going to run all my wiring. As usual, I've got everything in my DeWalt T-Stack system, so electrical stuff, I believe. I still need to label these, yeah. That's all in there. Wagos and ferrules and what have you. So let's get started. Just my luck. Good thing I open up this socket. Those cables are coming from up there, so that changes where I'm going to put the wiring center. So I can't put it there. It's quite a big one as well. No, I can't really put it there either because I need access to the cables. Could put it on this side. Might just do that and run the wires that way. Let me open up that double socket, see which way these cables are running as well. So I've decided to put the wiring center there, so I've tried to keep it in line with the sockets, and I'll put another fuse spur there. There was an old metal back box and a socket over here, and that's just fed off a 16 amp breaker from the fuse board, so which is perfect for the boiler because boiler only needs a 3 amp fuse in the, I'm losing the will to live today, in the fuse spur anyway. So I'm just going to run this cable into there and then run another cable across from there into the wiring center. These cables from here are sort of coming up there, and I was going to put the wiring center somewhere here, but then it just look a bit out of place. I'm trying to keep things in line as much as possible. So I'm going to run the supply into there and then the load out of there behind here and into there. So we're going to have a live earth and neutral main terminals in there, and then from there I can start doing all the rest of it. So just a little progress update on the wiring center. So I've used the middle row for my main live earths and neutrals, and then because I've only got a 3-way Wago for the neutral, 3-way Wago for the earth, I've also put another 2 5-way Wagos up here. So I've extended that as another neutral rail, and I've extended that as another earth rail. The live rail I should have enough because I only need power from the fuse spur, the boiler, 2 zone valves and the Hive. So that's my 5-way in there. Probably could have gotten away with just a 5-way neutral conductor as well, but neutral rail as well, but I think I might still need a couple more. So I would still need a neutral in here for the 2nd zone valve, and I'm also going to need a neutral for the Hive. So yeah, I would have needed extra ones anyway. So now that I've done that, I've started wiring up my heating zone valve. So I'm running that just behind there, in a bit of trunking there, and then out through here. I can't get the trunking to run behind the pipework, so I've had to cut it and then split it, trying to make it look as neat as possible. I'll see what I can do with this as well. I might just pin it or clip it. I'll see, but I just want to get this all wired up. So now I've started wiring up the heating side. So this is my 5-core from the heating zone valve, which I've put on a 5-way connector down there. So for any future maintenance, it's easier to work off it just from the 5-way. That's coming from here. So obviously the neutral coming out of there is going to the neutral rail. The grey is our permanent live. That's going into the live rail. Then this brown is going to be our switch. So that's going to go where the Hive receiver is, where the central heating connector goes into there. That will go into a 2-way Wago with that. The earth, obviously I need to pop the earth into there. The black I'm using as my switch live, so I've put a 3-way Wago there, so that's going to contain the 2 switch lives from each of the zone valve, and then the 3rd one is going to be the one going back to the boiler. So that's sort of the way I'm doing it. I'm just doing it in stages. So started in the heating zone valve, I'm going to finish wiring that up, then I'm going to do the same with the hot water zone valve, and I also need to run another cable here to the cylinder stat as well. Okay, wiring is pretty much all done. So mounted the Hive backplate there. So it's a twin channel Hive, so I've used grey in number 3 for hot water, black in number 4 for heating, live and neutral, live and neutral. So they come down into here. so my wiring center, I've got all my neutrals here. So I've kept that. So you've got the neutral rail there, linking out to the neutral rail there. Got the earth rail there, linking to the earth rail there. I didn't need any more live conductors, so that 5-way was absolutely fine. And then on the right hand side here, I've got, this is my grey coming from there, so that's hot water on. That's going to the common inside the cylinder stat. And then we've got this is our hot water cable, so that's going to be the second one. So that's the brown coming from the hot water zone valve, and that's linked to the call from the cylinder stat, so that's the blue one. So that's coming off of the demand terminal from the cylinder stat. And then the heating, because this basically is the receiver, so when the thermostat clicks on, that black cable from number 4 goes straight to the brown on the heating zone valve, so that will then activate that and get that to come on. All I've got to do now, I just need to open up the boiler. I'm going to be changing the PCB anyway, so I need to rewire the terminals inside there. I've also noticed that as well, so I'm going to grab a grommet from the van and change that over as well. And then one of these 2 cables will be our switch live, going back to the boiler, so that once I know which one's which inside there, one of these will get snipped and one of these will go into there, because these 2 black cables are basically coming off of the orange cables on here for our switch live. So I'm gonna actually power up the hub first for the Hive, because that takes ages, and whilst that's powering up, I will then sort out the wiring in here and sort out that grommet, etc. Right, we are powered on. Grommets change, just in case people doubt me. I've used the grey as a switch live, terminate the black just in there. Boiler is on. This is paired up. So now what we'll do first is we will, let's boost the heating. So heating, boost that. Alright, that's got demand there, so that should start motoring over, which it is. Wait for the click. Click. Should get a demand on here. But I'm not. Okay, let me see where I've gone wrong. Crisis averted. It's because the old sensor was still plugged in. So as soon as I took that out, that's working now. So that's not connected to anything, so I can just pop that back in, just so that it fits in there nicely. S4 means burner is on. We've got demand above heating out on hot water, which means hot water zone valve is open, heating zone valve is open. And now if I off, that goes off. Happy days. Let's now turn hot water off. There we go, that's gone off. Flame's gone off. Job done. Now I'm just gonna have a little tidy up and get out of here. It is, bloody hell, it's 5 to 8. Still got 2 gas sets to do. Don't know if I'll get around to them tonight. One of them I probably will. The other one I may reschedule. Let me see how I get on. So yeah, I didn't make it to those last 2 jobs because it just got really late and I was knackered. They're only gas sets, so they weren't expired or due anytime soon, so I just rebooked them for the following day. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. As always, please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button, and I will catch you on Tuesday's video. Have a good one.